All right, guys. Hey, welcome back to the monthly training for the prestigious, the illustrious, the awesome, the amazing GFD bike team. First things first, guys, we've been doing a lot of hard work. We are getting better every single day, and we have really made some big inroads and headways into really getting this team recognized and respected. Congratulations to everybody. Great job, and let's keep doing what we're doing. So part of that is going to be constantly improving our skills, and today we're going to talk about basic bike maintenance. We're going to talk about just super simplistic stuff. There's no need in us getting into the weeds with things like bottom brackets and other things, greasing things down, stuff like that. Because at the end of the day, that takes a little bit more dedication to do it properly. And not everybody wants to get stuck in the weeds when it comes to learning about those types of things. We thought that it'd be really good for everybody just to be on the same level when it comes to basic maintenance and just basic care of the bike. If we do a good job on taking care of the bike and the simplistic things, then the big issues they don't come, and if they do come, it's very rare that they do. So we're going to talk about all these. You're going to see a few videos and some things. I got a couple videos that I made myself, but we're going to try to keep it as simplistic as possible, but also as attention getting or attention retaining as possible. Okay, so if you can't tell, this is like the third or fourth time that I've tried doing a narration on this. So I'm really trying to keep my upbeat tempo with it. So hopefully we can keep it going for the remainder of it. It's not that many slides, but it's a whole lot of information. Okay, so here are our objectives. We're going to talk about air pumps versus CO2 pumps. We're going to talk about multi-tools, and we're going to talk about fixing broken chains, and that entails learning about chain links and some about the chain tools. I took out some of the stuff when it came to some of the chain tools just because at the end of the day, that's not really a skill that we're going to do out in the field all that much. Instead, I found a great video that shows you the super simple basics on it, and it doesn't require extra tools. So I decided to go that route with it just because I believe it's just a little bit more practical when it comes to the team as a whole. And then we're also going to talk about how to do a tire change and tire patches that we have here. Okay, so let's get into it. So first things first, let's talk about the whole tire pump. So you got two different types of pumps. Excuse me. You have the hand pump, which is the small pump that you're going to use your hands to generate the PSIs, or you have the standing pump, which is basically the same thing, but it's larger, and you're going to stand on it. It's what we have out here in the Bay. It's that green and black. I think it's the Typhoon or something like that. But that's going to be uh, an example of a hand pump. Now, the way that I try to frame a lot of this is it's going to be what's the advantage, what's the disadvantage. And again, it's just to keep everything simple and just to give you guys the down and dirty of it. So when it comes to hand pumps, the advantages of it is going to be that you have an unlimited source of air. As long as you have the energy to pull and push the handles with the pump, you're going to generate air, and you're going to be able to fill up any size of tire. Now, depending on what size we're running, it might take you, 5 to 6 minutes. It might take you anywhere, 2 to 3 minutes. Who knows? It's all dependent on you. So, but this machine can handle it. It's very simple to operate. You just pull the handles up and then push down forcefully, and there you go. Now, with that being said, you have some issues with that. That's going to go into the disadvantages. So the main disadvantage with this is going to be the speed that it can pump the tire up, and that speed is really dependent on you. It's all in how hard you can go. So this right here using a hand pump is not it's not going to be very practical when we're talking about running an emergency traffic to a patient that's out on the trail. If you get a flat, a flat tire, changing it and then pumping it back up, we're talking about this thing could put you down for maybe 5 to 10 minutes, depending on how well versed you are at doing this. So this is definitely a conversation that needs to be had between you and your captain and the BC, and just figure out what they are going to want you to do when it comes to having mechanical failures and things like that out in the field when we're actually en route to a patient. Everybody has their difference of opinions on it, but at the end of the day, this is a skill that is going to require time, and it's also a skill that, to be honest, is kind of a depreciable skill. So, what I want each one of you guys to do is think about the last time that you did a tire change. I mean, completely deflated tire, took the tube out, put tube back in, inflated it, and just think about how long that took you. So, these are things that if we don't stay up on, if we don't stay practicing, our times are going to get longer and longer. So at the end of the day, this may not be a skill for trailside use when we're in route to an emergency situation. So again, these are all things just to consider, but the conversation needs to be had. All right, moving on. Now let's talk about the CO2 tire inflator. Now this little device is very cool. It's basically a two-unit or two-part unit. You have the horn that kind of looks like the air horns that you see at sporting events, and then you have the CO2 cartridge itself. The CO2 cartridges can come in different sizes. You're going to have some that are going to be 16 grams, 20 grams, 25 grams. For us, and all intents and purposes for mountain biking, you typically see people gravitate towards the 25-gram size cylinder. Reason being is because evidently it has enough air to get you on average at least to about 30 psi. And most people ride their tires at 30 psi or below. Now, with that being said, the PSI that you run your tire is completely a subjective thing. Everybody has different sizes, different weights, different riding styles, different comfort levels. So there is no one size fits all when it comes to tire PSI and how you do this. So one of the things that is a disadvantage to the CO2 inflator because of this difference in preference is that there's no gauge on the device. Now, when we're talking about the hand pumps, a lot of them have PSI gauges, so you can tell exactly where where your tires are sitting when it comes to pressure. But when it comes to the CO2 inflator, you don't have that. So if you're somebody that has, relied on those numbers and the dials when you're pumping up your tire to know when you're in your sweet spot of the tire inflation, if you have to end up using the CO2 cartridge, you're not going to get that. So that could put you at a disadvantage, especially if you're somebody who is very sensitive to changes in the pressure and things like that. There are some people that, I mean, you mess around and take 5 psi or more out of their tire, they can feel it. They can feel it, and it really does kind of mess them up. So that is a disadvantage. But let's go back to the advantages, because I really think the advantages outweigh the disadvantages when it comes to this device. First things first, these things are small, so they don't weigh a lot. They don't take up a lot of space in your pack, and they're just easy. They're easy to stow away, and it's very convenient as opposed to a hand pump or a standing pump. Those things are definitely going to be bigger than this CO2 inflator, so they're going to take up more space, they're going to add more weight, and it can be cumbersome. So that's the first thing. The next thing is that these things inflate your tire very quickly. On average, you're looking at probably about a minute to maybe 2 minutes to inflate your tire up to, I think they do about 30 psi. Like I said, somewhere in that range, we'll say probably 25 to 30 psi. But we're talking about a downtime of, just a minute or so before you're ready to get back going. So the fast inflation time is definitely a positive when it comes to us, and especially with what we do. The less time that we stay pumping up the tire, the faster that we can get to our patient, and it's just an overall better thing for us. Next thing is there's going to be a lot less effort. Literally, all you have to do is twist the CO2 cartridge into the horn and then open it up. That's it. There's no fatigue from trying to push the pump up and down real fast to get back into the fight. You don't get any of that. And sometimes these tire issues happen when you're already gassed, you're already exhausted from a long ride or a tough ride. The last thing you want to do is want to have to sit there and fight with a air pump to do that. So this really helps to save a lot of energy and a lot of frustration. Now, like I already said, one disadvantage of this as we move into this section is going to be that you don't have a PSI gauge. But that's kind of, you know, that's kind of a I don't know the right word. that's kind of a specific issue. You know, not everybody has a problem with not being able to tell exactly how many PSI is in their tire. So that's definitely a case by case basis. But across the board, the following disadvantages are definitely going to be there. The first one is that this is going to be a consumable resource, meaning as soon as you use that CO2 cartridge up, that's it. You don't have an infinite supply of air. All the air you have is what can fit in that cartridge. So this is something that, let's say you're running a really big tire, or maybe a fat tire or a plus size tire. You may not have enough in that tube, sorry, in that cylinder to fill it all the way up. So that can be an issue if you don't bring enough. And piggybacking off that, the next disadvantage is going to be the fact that it's an ongoing expense. Every time you use one of these, you have to buy another one to replace it. Again, it's not an infinite air supply. So depending on where you go, we went out and got some today for you guys to practice with. I mean, you can be looking at $4 and some change per cylinder, or you can go on Amazon, and you can get a box of them for probably about $10 to $15, and you get roughly maybe about 10 or 20 of them. So, depending on where you shop and how you shop, it can definitely affect your finances. So that's definitely a disadvantage to that. All right, so let's move on to the multi-tools. So there's lots of different types of multi-tools out there, lots of different brands, but the long and short of them is that you get what you pay for. We just had issues with the multi-tools that we had in our bags. They fell apart due to vibration and shaking, and the just the end product just was not done to a high quality. So the $10 that we spent on there, it was reflected when they fell apart after 2 or 3 months. Um, these things can go anywhere from $10 on up to, I believe it's like $75 is the most expensive one I saw, and I think that's the Alienware, Alien brand, something like that. And that one, you can definitely tell that's a quality product. Depending on the price that you spend on it will determine all the bells and whistles that you get with it. So what I found was a great video by GMBN, and they talk about it. And it's a short video, but they break it down really good. They show you different things that you can do with them, and I think that they do a better job of explaining the aspects of a multi-tool better than me. Now, before we get to the video, I just want to tell you that the advantages of this is going to be definitely the size. You're getting a whole toolbox almost in the size in the palm of your hand. You could put it in your pocket, you put it in your pack. It's great. So you're really cutting down on weight. You're cutting down on the need to buy tools. If you spend the money up front to get a good quality multi-tool, you can all but put together a complete bike with this, with the exception of maybe one or two pieces on the bike. So this is really good advantage for this. The next thing is going to be the versatility. Depending on how much money you spend on the tool, it will afford you multiple options of tool bits and things like that. So you can use this device in lots of different situations. And again, we've already talked about the number of functions. Again, the more you spend, the more you get. So they're very cool. Now, when it comes to disadvantages, the it's going to be the first thing is going to be cost. You know, if you want something really, really good quality, really high quality, you're going to have to spend money for it. Now, with that being said, that doesn't mean that you can't spend like a middle of the road type budget and not get something good. The multi tools that I run when I'm out in mountains or whatever, they're about 25 to maybe $30, and I love them. Never let me down. They work great. They're very durable. Have never had them fall apart. So they're great. But again, this is a money thing. So we have to take into consideration how many tools we're looking at, how many people need to have a tool, and then how much is our budget. So that's why I put the cost on there as a disadvantage. And last but not least is that these things are so small and so compact that they can be easily misplaced if you're not careful. I have misplaced one or two in my time, and they can be so light that as they're vibrating in your pocket, you don't even notice it, and they just slip out. And now you got a tool that's in the middle of the woods, and somebody's going to pick that up for you. So uh, they can be a challenge sometimes to keep track of because of their reduced size. So that can be a disadvantage. So now we're going to watch the GMBN clip about the tools.
Every ride that you go on, you should be carrying a multi-tool. It could be the thing that just gets you home. So here is our guide on how to use a multi-tool. Now, a multi-tool is something that's very compact, it's meant to be small and have a lot of features. This is a Mini 10. It's got 10 different tools ranging from torque wrenches, Allen keys and a Phillips head driver. This tool is super lightweight. It's 83 grams and it's perfect for everyday use. If you're just nipping out for an hour or something like that, you can slip in your pocket, you can attach it to your jeans or just put it in your back pocket. This tool has got 10 different functions, but that doesn't mean that I can only adjust 10 different bolts. I can adjust almost the whole bike with this one little tool. Things like I've got my Phillips screwdriver and adjust all my limit screws and also the B tension on the Mac. With the Allen keys, I can adjust all the shock hardware, even things in my chain device, handlebars, and also things like in my cockpit. I can use my Torx keys range to adjust things like my rotor bolts and also brake levers and piston bolts as well.
While Scott's Mini 10 is really handy, if you're going a bit further afield or you want something that's going to solve virtually any problems you have on the trail, you're going to need to go bigger than that. And this is Topeak's Mini 20. It's actually a 23 function multi-tool. Obviously it's larger, it weighs a bit more, 150 grams, but you've got a lot more tools in there, including this all-important chain tool tucked away neatly. So I've got all the same Allen keys that Scott's got on his smaller multi-tool. I've also got a flathead screwdriver there. Pretty good actually, bodging tools, flathead screwdrivers, and good for removing caps on certain dropper seat posts or hydraulic things. Down this side, flip these out, I've got a tyre lever, great for emergencies there. Little L-shaped 2.5mm Allen key, that's really handy for doing the reach on brake levers. This is a clever little feature. There's a 10mm Allen key, that's good for doing the extracting bolts on cranks, but if you pop the end off that, underneath there is an 8mm, great for actually tightening up the cranks themselves. I've also got a 5 and a 6mm Allen key, and there is something to hold the spokes. So if you've got bladed spokes, that stops them from spinning. And there is an all-important bottle opener for popping the top off a beer. So tucked in here neatly is a chain tool. It's something that is pretty much essential on most rides. If you snap your chain and you don't have one, then there's no way of fixing it at all. So just to pop this out, you need to unscrew it, and then the thing slides out. Really clever little design this. You slide the pin back in, and in there is a 4mm Allen key head, and that's what you're going to use to pop the pin out of your chain. So it's got all the features of a normal chain tool, it's just a mini size. So wind it on, and there you go. That's good for fixing the chain. But you've also got that sort of second set of pins on that chain tool to fix any stiff links. Another neat little feature of this, see this little piece of wire? That's great for just hooking your chain together when you're trying to fix your chain. Something else you want to consider when picking a multi-tool that's really going to make you sort of self-sufficient out on the trail is spoke keys. You see all these cutouts here on the bottom of the chain tool for normal spokes, different sizes, but also Shimano, and there's one there for Mavic nipples as well. So there you go, there's how to use a multi-tool. I can't tell you how many times one of these things has gotten me out of a problem on a trail. If you want to see how to use one of these things, you can click up there for our full maintenance playlist, and click down there to have a look at some of the Pro Mechanics toolboxes. Click on the GMBN logo to subscribe to GMBN, it's totally free. We do mountain bike videos every day of the year. Give us a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video.
All right, let's keep on going. All right, so now let's talk about the chain link and the chain tool. We're gonna work on some training for you guys when it comes to utilizing the chain tool that you see on the left, and see if we can't get you some videos that will help you guys to better understand how to use that. But what I did find online was a great video, that will help you to fix a chain link or a broken chain rather, out in the field when you're out there working, and not necessarily during an emergency scene, of course, but we're talking about we're out there training for riding or doing pre-plans or anything like that. So let's take a look. So how to fix a broken chain.
Cannot believe this has happened to me. I'm almost home. Snap my chain. Oh well. All right, what are you lot doing here? You what? Show you how to fix it at the side of the road? Go on then, I'll show you. Now, despite that rather impressive acting of mine in the introduction there, I have actually deliberately broken this chain for the purpose of the video. The reason that some chains do break, I don't know, but it possibly could be due to age, a poorly timed gear shift when applying a lot of torque through the pedals, or sometimes just poor installation to start with. But certainly chains these days don't tend to break as often as they did in the past. But today then, let's look how to solve it if that unfortunate incident happens to you at the side of the road. Now, for this quick roadside repair, we're not going to worry about using any of those fancy little joining pins that you have to snap off, because not everybody's multi-tool out there can actually snap off the remnant. So instead, we're going to use a pair of quick links to actually rejoin the chain. That way you're going to be able to keep the chain the same length and you're not going to have to faff around at all for too long whilst doing this running repair. Now, these quick links are actually a really great idea for one reason in particular, because if you've got an 11-speed pair of quick links, you can repair any 11-speed chain out there, and the same could be said for 9 or 10-speed, obviously, if you have it in that variant too. Meaning that if one of your buddies is out on a ride with you and they happen to snap their chain at the same time, well, you can just hand them over to them and let them get on with the process instead, so that, well, you don't get your hands dirty. Now, sadly, due to the fact that I deliberately broke this chain for the video, I don't have a real-world example of exactly what it may look like at the side of the road. But in essence, you want both ends of the chain to look like this. So by that, I mean, basically, you've got the inner pair of links on either end. Now, I don't have that in this case, so I'll show you just how to remove the other end so that it matches up with this one. So luckily I've got a handy Topeak multi-tool with me on the ride, which is very fortunate, let's face it. Now, if you're very, very lucky as well, you could well end up with two ends of your chain broken and looking exactly like that. But I think the chance of that is extremely slim. If it's happened to you, let me know in the comment section down below. But yeah, I am going to remove this pin so I can rejoin it using the connecting links. Now, one of the reasons as well for using these connecting links is then you can get exactly the same chain length as before, so you can carry on riding and you're not going to be stuck without any gears. So yeah, let's do that bit. You want to make sure that the pin of the chain tool is lined up perfectly with the rivet or the pin of the chain, and just do it up gently by hand until you are sure it's in the center, and then slowly apply pressure onto the chain tool just to pop that pin or rivet out of the other side. You don't need to worry too much if the chain does come apart, because, well, that's what you were trying to do, let's face it. And then both sides will end up looking the same. So in my case, I've got both inner links there and they're ready to be joined together with that quick link. So before you go ahead and fit that quick link, make sure that the chain is correctly routed through everywhere. So by that, I mean really around the derailleur. Pay particular attention there. You won't be the first person to ride along with loads of noise from the rear end. So with that in mind, make sure, of course, the chain is going around the sprockets correctly and that it passes around this side of the upper pulley wheel before it goes on the underside. And then on virtually every rear derailleur cage out there is a small little bar or a rivet almost that goes through. That needs to go on top of that. So it goes around, underneath, on top, and it goes on the top side of the lower pulley wheel, like so. You don't want it to be dragging along underneath this rivet there, because that will make an awful lot of noise, because there'll be some extra resistance there. And obviously make sure the chain is not twisted or going in any other direction at the front end either. Now, when it comes to rejoining that chain, we also want to make sure that the chain is not under too much tension. So make sure the chain is not on the big chain ring, it's not on the biggest sprocket at the rear, because then it's going to have the most amount of stretch going through it, making the job for you just a little bit tougher. So instead, possibly reach forward to the front and just drop it down like so. Therefore, you've got a lot more room to be able to play with. This is one of those occasions really where you wish you had 3 hands. In my case, I'm quite lucky because that little multi-tool from Topeak comes with this. It joins the chain together back temporarily, or just kind of holds it in place, relieving you from having to do that job. It's almost like an extended paper clip. You could even fashion one of these at home if you liked. So it's just a case of using this handy little tool. I do like these, it must be said. And then getting that chain, it's joined like so, just so you've got a little bit of room to be able to play with. Trust me, it's way easier having this than trying to battle everything. It's an absolute nightmare, especially with a greasy, slippery chain. And then these quick links, they simply install by going through the holes of the chain, like so. So you simply push one through from the inside. Now these ones have a slight curvature to them, which means that really you want the most curved part going to be going around the sprockets and around the chain ring itself. So you want to make sure that the actual pins of those chain links go through the center of those chain ends, and then they will match up into the slots. Now at the moment it's not fully tensioned, but what we'll do is pull on the chain. Sometimes they don't actually fully lock in till you apply a bit of torque there, so sometimes you have to just put a little bit of pressure through the pedals to do so, but once they're in, they are in and you're good to go riding again. There we are, the Quick Link fitted, ready to ride again, chain repaired at the side of the road. Let me know though what you think about this video. I reckon that a Quick Link is one of the most underrated bits of equipment that you could put inside of your saddlebag. Also, remember to like and share this video with your friends, give it a big old thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Click that subscribe button, click that notification icon so you get alerted with a little ding dong each and every time we put a video live. Don't forget also, check out the GCN shop at shop.globalcyclingnetwork.com. We've got so much for everybody out there. And now for 2 more great maintenance videos, how about clicking just down here and just down here. Right, I'm off for a ride. Fixed it, get in.
All right. So, like I said, this is something that was for, you know, down and dirty, just real quick on the side of the trail or whatnot. I will work on putting together something for you guys for the actual tool that we have, and the only reason that we don't have it right now is just because the video that we shot, it didn't come out like I wanted it to, so I didn't want to put that up here, and then I just couldn't find a good video online, so that is coming, so just be patient with me. Okay, so now let's talk about, I think, one of the most simplest one of the most simplest tasks that we have is just going to be simply changing the tire. So we made a video for you on how to change a tire real quick, so just take a look. All right, and like I said, guys, that this is a skill that definitely needs to be practiced, because if you don't, it will take you longer than what it should, you know, in order for you to do this skill. So this is definitely something that everybody should practice from time to time. All right, let's talk about tire patches. We actually have different tire patches um, from time to time. Sometimes we will have the ones that you see on the left. Other times we have the ones that's on the right. Currently, we have the green ones that are on the right. They are the self-adhesive ones. You don't need the glue in order to make these stick. And this is something that I definitely would love for you guys to get your hands on and practice patching a punctured inner tube. This is a great skill to have, one, because it will, you know, it'll help you to be able to fix your bike out in the field and keep you going when when we're out there doing stuff. But two, it also helps to save the department some money, because if we can prolong the life of these tubes, that's less money that comes out the budget, which means that there's more money for us to do other things with. So next, you're going to see a short video, I believe, that's going to show you how to patch your tire. Okay, no. So I don't think we have that one. But nonetheless, we will work on that. We will get that going for you. But before you patch the tire, you got to find the leak. So sometimes the holes in the inner tubes are very obvious and it's easy to see. Other times it's just a consistent, slow leak that keeps going, that keeps happening, and you keep coming into the station and your tire's flat. So in those instances like that, where the leak is not obvious, a great trick is to do what we see up here. Take some soap and some water, make a soapy solution, spread it around on the tire, and see if you see any bubbles come up. You can do that, or you can get a bucket that's big enough for you to put sections of the inner tube in, and just see if you see bubbles come to the surface. You'd be surprised how small a hole can be, so that you can't see it, but when you put air in it, it's still going to come out. So these are just some ways to do it. Okay, here's the video.
These are slime scabs, peel and stick bike tire patches. These are really good because you don't have to bring a tube of rubber cement or wonder if your rubber cement's gone dry. It's basically just a sticker. You peel and stick it on your tire after sanding it down a little bit, and it seals the hole. So let's give it a try on this flat tire. All right, here's another tip for you. If you're just patching the inner tube, you don't necessarily have to take the tire off the bike. You can save time by just prying the inner tube out, patching it, and putting it back in. So we found the hole in it. So the hole is right here. You can hear the air coming out. Don't assume there's only one hole, too. You can see there's a little spot here that looks like a hole, or a hole that's starting to happen. So just because you found one hole, don't necessarily give up looking for the other one. And make sure you feel around inside the tire and look for any sharp object that might have caused that hole. Just rough it up. In this case, it's right on the seam, so we want to rough it up. Try to just give it something good to stick to here. And then I'll rough up this other spot too. I'm going to go ahead and use two slime patches on this one. Patch both holes. That sounds like a Ducati. Alright, so that's sufficiently roughed up. Now this part really is that simple. You take the patch and peel it off the backing, but you don't want to touch the sticky side of it. I'm going to peel it off without touching it. And then just stick it on. Peel and stick. Peel and stick. Make sure that you have good coverage, that it's stuck down all the way around. And then we'll do the same thing with the second hole. Peel it off, doing our best not to touch the sticky side, and then stick it over. There you go, that's it. And then just put it back inside the wheel and ride off. This is how you put it back in the tire without removing the wheel from the bike. You just sort of squeeze it in here. I have a little bit of air in it to keep it semi-pumped up so it doesn't get pinched. Then just shove it back in there. Squeeze the tire over. Make sure that the valve stem is sticking straight out, not off to the side. And pump it up. All right, the tire is all fixed.
All right. So again, I thought that was a good short video. We have those exact patches in the toolbox. I'm sorry, in the tool cabinet. So all the same things apply. The scuffing up the surface, that's a good rule of thumb, but you don't have to do that if you don't have a scuffing pad.